This is Lindsay, and welcome back to Nevermore Creations. If you're new here, please subscribe and stay a while. I do a lot of junk journal themed videos, tutorials, and flip throughs and tips and tricks. And today I have a steampunk slash mildly Halloween themed journal. This is a custom order, and she loves vintage, steampunk, and Halloween. So I did vintage steampunk with a tiny touch of Halloween. That way she can kind of use it throughout the year. Like there's a black rose here with glimmer mist. As part of the closure in this beautiful steampunk Botanica paper, I love the like vintage surgical instruments, and there's spider webs, and so there's a little bit of Halloween here. If you can look at all the detail going on there. And since there was so much going on, I decided to leave that plain. And also, I decided to back it with this steampunk paper. And there's a few skulls in there, and there's some glitter and screws. And so there's a nod to Halloween there as well. So let's get right into it. There's book pages, coffee dyed paper, parchment paper. This is a early 1914-ish time period physics workbook. This is not a reprint. This is an actual page, and I thought that went well with steampunk. I did stamping, and this is from Junk That Treasures, and it's like one of those little weekly time card things. I made a giant vintage lace pocket. She can put stuff in there, and then this tag has an actual clock face on it. This is a real clock face, and I just distressed it and put it with a garment pin right on there. This is from a scan from an old book, and this is like little pieces of, I think, hardware for cabinets, or their snaps or something like that. It's a catalog. And then I decided to use these new steampunk pages from Digital Collage Club, so check that out. She has so much steampunk related, so definitely worth checking out. And then a glassine bag from Junk That Treasures, and then I just added this little homemade journaling card that slips right in there. And of course a clock sticker. This is a faux leather. It's actually a wallpaper, and it looks like leather. And then I stitched on this here and then turned it into a tuck spot. And there's a stamped Rolodex card and a little vintage book tag. I tried to do a lot of stamping on the coffee dyed, some of the coffee dyed pages. Here's another little tuck spot I made. This is like a big apothecary bottle, and I added a little Tim Holtz guy and the word remedy. And then I made this coffee dyed index card that slips right in there. This is from a vintage typewriting lesson book. And this is from a vintage book on machines. And it's really cool. This is also from Digital Collage Club, and it was meant to cut out each individual steampunk letter, but I loved how they looked as like this set. So I turned it into a tuck spot and added a little paper ribbon and button collage, and then this journaling spot. Here's a top tuck with this sewn journaling card, and then more of the Tim Holtz little people, and it says trust. Yeah, dogs are people too, right? This is also from Junk That Treasures, and it's a vintage coin roller, and I just sewed it and I turned it into a little pocket for another one of those faux leather wallpaper tags, and another background from Digital Collage Club. This is actually parchment paper I picked up at Goodwill. This is like a chipboard sticker and some stamping. And I did some stamping on this little homemade journaling spot. And it was a double-sided cardstock, so I just added gesso so you could kind of see what was going on behind it, but you can still write on it, and it adds a really cool kind of vintage look to it. Another one of those Digital Collage Club steampunk papers. And I printed them on parchment for that effect. Here's a little wallpaper tuck spot and a little mason jar from Digital Collage Club. And then in here we have just a little section, The Beauty of Machines at Work, from a vintage book on machines. And then a giant ledger tag that I made. Here's some washi tape. Here's a little scale tuck spot, and then I made this index card tag, and then this is a really, really heavy duty tag. It has a cereal box in the middle, scrap of paper here, and then vintage machining book paper here, and some stamping. Go another Digital Collage Club paper ribbon on the bottom there, stamping. This is a giant page flag tuck spot that I made. And then over here we have a little piece of vintage lace and a little vintage skeleton. This is from the Old Design Shop, and it is a vintage postcard. And I think they're meant to be printed out regular postcard size, but I love the quality of her images, and I love to print this full page size, and I decided to make it the middle of this signature. So it looks really vintage and steampunk, and then you can write on it. And then here's like a typewriting font ribbon. The lighting's weird. The sun's coming up and it started out okay, and now the sun is messing with the lighting. So sorry about that. And then this is my initials. That's like a little signature that I added there. More of the Digital Collage Club paper. Here is a giant side page flag, and it goes up over the page and then comes on this side here. And then a little ticket that says found with a button, and then another coffee dyed index tag that I made. Stamping a little paper ruffle tuck spot. This is from Calico Collage Kit Traveling Through, but it has a locomotive, so I thought that was perfect. This is from a book on flight that I cut out. And here's that other side of that vintage machining book. There's a little, I guess that's a scale. And I turned one of these, I think it's an order form or a balance due. It's like a receipt or something. It's from Junk That Treasures. And I punched out a hole here and sewed it and turned it into a big tuck spot to put photos or things in. And there's a butterfly that kind of coordinates with the inside paper. And there you have it. So this is going out and on its way to its new owner. I had fun making this. I love working with steampunk. So I hope that it gave you a few resources and ideas for steampunk crafting.